Alright, guys. Let me make sure I look right. Make sure the color and the light and everything's right. How's everybody doing today? Alright. Yep, okay. Light looks good. That looks good. Camera's a little crooked. Let me fix this camera a little bit, y'all. Sorry. One second, guys. Camera is a little crooked. Hold on. That looks better. All right. Sorry about that. My camera was a little crooked. Okay. See, that's why I got to check it. That looks better. A lot better. Okay. Alrighty. So, how's everybody doing? Okay. Hi, my name's Daryl Phillips, owner of Warpole J Gaming. And what we do here is listen to talk. So it's hump day, Wednesday. Halfway through the week. Made it halfway through the week. Man, it seems like it's going really fast for me anyway. I'm getting a lot done. I'm resting, making sure I'm timing things right. I'm not sleeping very good at night. I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys can understand why. I'm not used to sleeping by myself, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna do something different today, a little bit different for this one, and I'll get to that in a second. Like, subscribe, share. If you like this video, like it. If you're new to this channel, if you just come across this channel, subscribe. I talk about all sorts of things. I try to get not just I don't want to speak to hear myself speak, so I try to be in depth, but not boring. Does that make sense? But like, take for today. All right. What I want to do is I'm going to start out reading one verse out of the Bible. That's very just the only thing I want to discuss today. Okay? And that is Hebrews 11:1. So if you will do me a favor and if you have a Bible, go to Hebrews 11:1 or look it up later. And we'll go from there. So, but you'll understand what I'm doing. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Okay, so that was quick. So basically, that's what I want to discuss today. It's very clear. All right? If you understand what that's trying to say, is that God's definition of faith, all right, is that it's evidence of things hoped for, things not seen. So, for example, in the spiritual world, in God's world, in our world really, but you can't see heaven and hell and angels, but you can know that they exist because, like in Romans 1, where he says that actually, I could read this one so you understand it. In God's opinion, he doesn't have an opinion. God doesn't do opinions. But let's see here. Da-da-da. Let's see here. Romans. Even as they did not. I gotta read. This is such small writing. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, here we go. So this would be Romans 1, chapter 20, or verse 20. This is very important. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Okay, so God's opinion, there has been man around to see the creation, even if you don't know your Bible, even if you're part of another religion. There is enough evidence that there is a creator that created all of what you see, leaving us without an excuse. Okay? Let me see, Daryl, are you going to really get into scripture? No. When I was walking around on the streets all those years ago, not only did I didn't believe in God, I didn't believe in anything. I had stopped believing in anything. In the case of God, I should have tried to believe, but I didn't. But other people, I had no excuse. I chose to isolate myself, all right? I chose to be by myself and be alone. Because, in my opinion, people didn't understand me, or people didn't want to be around me, and there was all sorts of crap excuses. You know, in the case of God, I was ashamed. Why is that so important to understand? The ingredients and the steps are not some blind. Did you know that blind faith is never taught one time in the Bible? That's not the definition of faith. Now, I'm not going to get into a deep discussion about what the scriptural, what God sees as faithful acts and things like that. I'm not going to get into that tonight. But I have a really large book here, about that thick, that goes along that I use it to study the Greek words. And the definition of faith, Hebrews 11:1 doesn't simplify, but it's that. It's the word pistis. There are two words in the New Testament that are used for belief and faith. Okay? There's the word pistis, P-I-S-T-I-S, pistis, that translates to the word faith. And then there's pisteu, belief. I want you to have not just a belief in yourself. I want you to have faith in yourself. Now, in reality, you can't have the purest definition of biblical faith in yourself or even man, because that's actually for God. Because man lets you down. We do make mistakes. Can y'all hold on 1 second? I ordered some groceries. 1 second. I will be back in 1 second. Okay. Sorry, I have to go. Just 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get some. I don't have a car. I don't have a car, and so I had to grab some sodas and some chips and stuff for me to munch on. So sorry about that. Um, okay, so what I'm trying to teach you guys is to have as close to the biblical version of faith in yourself and man as you can get, but not glorify man. Faith is actually required for God, but you need to have a strong, strong belief. Now, what's the difference? What in reality? What is the difference? Give me Daryl, give me an example of a faith thing, and a belief thing. What's the difference in the two words? If I say to you, like, it is very hot, it's very humid outside. It was almost 100 degrees today. It's kind of that nasty humidity too. So if I were to look at you and say, straight faced, I believe it's going to snow, what would you guys say to that? You would say, Daryl, I think you need to think about getting on your meds. But if I say, let's see, there's a lot of court cases going on right now. Let's say, okay, I have faith, or the election. Here's a good one. I have faith that the election was handled correctly. In other words, I have enough evidence that the election was done correctly. That's faith. You can have faith in something like that, but you can only ever have a certain amount of belief in something without evidence. I can believe all I want to that it's going to snow outside. It doesn't matter. That's all it will ever be, is belief. It will be just some belief that I have that has no base in reality. Everything that I'm trying to show you guys is based in reality. You guys got to understand something. Even though I didn't realize it at the time. Sorry, I probably should turn off the microphone next time I do that, huh? It's probably pretty loud in your ears, huh? Okay. You guys got to understand something. I had such a low self-esteem at one time that there was nothing you were going to tell me to get me to change the way I thought. And because I chose to be alone, it made it so much easier because I'm listening to my own thoughts. Ooh. All right. Right. And it was so painful when anybody would ever show me evidence of things that I knew in my heart was wrong, but when people would actually show it to me, I mean, I could very easily go into my own world, and it didn't matter. So, like playing video games, when I first met Sophia, and drinking, it was easy for me because I didn't. That way, I could be right. I could be right. I could feel better in my skin without any evidence whatsoever. There was no change came. Then I wonder why I stayed the same. The older I get, the more I realize how damned silly I was. Yes, I understand. It was messed up. I was in a messed up situation, and I get it. When you feed yourself bullcrap for so long, like I did, that's what you end up getting. But the shame that I feel because of that, the only shame that I feel now is the shame that I ever allowed myself to be like that. Because that's not my natural personality. All of these different subjects that I cover is for your learning, so that It strengthens your soul, builds up your faith, not just in me, but in yourself, in the people around you. You know, that's really the point. There are days that I start to doubt myself, but now that I know how to deal with it, how to process it, and then counter it, it doesn't last long now. You know, how do we gain when we're always telling ourselves all of this negative things, all this negative stuff? That's why it's important. That's why Dwan and I felt like it was important for us to continue to educate you guys and to study with you. You know, show you guys why these things happen, how to do these things. So there's some, there's a lot of very, how do I describe them? I guess faithless people, and I don't mean necessarily even against God, but just faithless they doubt, skeptics that doubt everything. And I find that fascinating. We're supposed to be this enlightened society, but I hear so much doubt in people's, the way they talk and the way they walk around. Look, y'all, I can tell you guys stories that make you cry, but that's not a useful thing, you know. All of these different things that I talk about, therefore the strengthening of your spirit, so that even if a hurricane comes through, that it's not going to blow you away. Although it might blow away Lori. Lori's so skinny. Sorry, Lori. She's going to make a comment in a second. No. But seriously. And so that's really what this is, you know. I like making sure I give messages. It doesn't always have to be a long message. This wasn't going to be a long message tonight. But I wanted to read that to you. I wanted to ensure that you understood that when I'm talking about these things, that's where I'm getting that from. So when I'm talking about want to, inventing, and taking advice, and no distractions, and knowing you're not alone, understand that it's to strengthen your resolve, so that when you're going through your steps, or even if you're not working on your steps, maybe you're at work and you're having a hard day, that way you can know that even if someone like me isn't available to talk to you and help you get through that day, that you can yourself. There's nothing more that I want than for you guys to succeed, whoever you might be. And I am honored and happy and glad that you guys are on my side. I'm happy and I'm honored and I'm glad that you guys get to come on here and I can discuss some things with you, and you can learn something and you can gain something from it. Really. So I'm going to work tonight. I'm going to get to work here. But this is basically, I want this to be my midweek message. Remember that Hebrews 11:1, faith, that is a evidence-based concept. That as you go throughout the weeks and the days and the years of your life, what evidence are you presenting? What evidence are you presenting to people why you are faithful, why you should have someone trust in you. Think on that. So, I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. Behave yourself, right? Be safe when you're traveling. Be safe when you get there. You never know what you might find. Be understanding of one another, not just from your perspective, but from theirs. Be understanding of yourself. Remember that life is fleeting. You're not promised your next breath. So go outside your box, learn something new, and you never know what you may find out about yourself. And until Friday, may the Lord light guide you in all things. Goodbye.